Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here. I will share my screen with you. So this presentation is a report and the sharing of experience that of the Despierres Étudiants en Exil Getaway University Degree for Students in Exile of the University of Burgundy in Dijon, which is a partner city of Reggio nell'Emilia. First, I will tell you a few words about the context and the evolution of the program from 16 to 20. As a result of the arrival of a large numbers of Middle Eastern refugees in Europe in 15, the French university community, as in many host countries, has mobilized in a hitherto unprecedented way. Among these refugee families, there were many people of a high academic level who legitimately aspired to find in their host country a professional and social position corresponding to their professional or university background. Existing language learning and social integration programs were largely unsuitable for this group, both in terms of their profile and their expectations. So something has to be invented without a pre-established framework, without funding, without experience, but with a great commitment on the part of some teachers, students, or administrative staff of the university. And under the impetus of the International Relations Office, French as a foreign language program for the refugees at the University of Burgundy started in September 16 with 44 people, mostly Syrians and Iraqis. This program was implemented without funding, relying solely on the commitment of volunteer teachers mobilized to offer an intensive year-long course of 15 hours per week. And at the same time, a national collective called Men's Migrants in Higher Education, bringing together participants for some 40 French universities, was set up to reflect on our practices and put forward proposals to the Ministry of Higher Education. In 1890, a model of the national diploma, the Passerelle Étudiants en Exil, carried by this collective, had been validated by the Ministry of Higher Education. And this accreditation is a great step forward for our students who have been able to be eligible for scholarships based on social criteria and housing in university residences like any other student at the university. And so we still have to look for various funders to start paying the teacher and everything, because the program itself is not financed by the university. Because in France, this development has been made according to the bottom up. It's not the implementation by university or a state decision. And this is what gives it, I think, its diversity and richness and keeps the strength of its commitment. A few words about the students enrolled in the programs. I give you the figures in 16, 17 and this year, 1920. If we look at some figures, we have a picture of the specificity of the participants in the program and also the evolution of the profile in 4 years, both because of the migratory phenomenon and also because of the opening of the program to asylum seekers. This is an important aspect, as in France, the university only opens its system to non-statutory persons. So almost only Syrian, as you can see on the first year. In first year, most of them, they have families with children, few single young people. And this year you can see the countries of origin diversify, which better reflects the phenomena actual. Syria, Afghanistan, and Sudan currently remain the main countries of origin. So what's important is that we are first moving from responding to a major localized crisis in Syria, which might have been imagined to be a one-off event, to taking into account broader migration phenomena that are likely to continue, which implies maintaining such programs over the long term. In terms of gender, let's have a look. There is relative balance between men and women, but the figures here do not show the differences between communities. For example, Afghans, they are all young, isolated men, like most Sudanese, which has an impact on the form of integration. This evolution can be seen also in the age and academic levels of the participants, as you can see, with a large group of young Afghans who fled after finishing high schools. Between the, let's see, the academic level, that's here, you see. So it's still on high academic level, but between the 40-year-old Syrian doctor, for instance, and the young Afghan who went to high school until the age of 17, the needs are quite different too. Considering the public targets, objectives need not be limited to observable outcomes. From the beginning, even if you were academics, other processes and experiences are seen as important focuses of the curriculum. So we had to take into account non-language outcomes and process objectives, social, psychological, emotional support in the new living environment, confidence, motivation, cultural understanding, access and entry into employment, further studies and community life. Objectives in this domain relate to the personal, social, cultural, and political needs and rights of the learners, and different means of action strategies are elaborated to provide a holistic approach as shown on the diagram. I think I have to go faster. So a few words. The first factor of integration, of course, is language, and it's the backbone of the program. And this program includes an FFL intensive course of 9 months, so it's about 400 hours every day for 2 groups of students intermediate and 1 group advanced with 3 teachers. From the outset, it seemed obvious to us to involve the students and staff of the university as widely as possible. We therefore set up a teaching unit as an integral part of the bachelor degrees course as an optional unit dedicated to linguistic one-to-one tutoring, 1 student from bachelor degree, 1 student from Despierres. I have to go faster. So social and cultural integration. One important part of it is the artistic expression workshops, this year's theater, dance, comic strip, which explore through different modes of expression the notion of path, traces, and exile. So the workshops are one of the areas where students can express psychic difficulties and traumas, the never-linear quest of identity to be reconstructed, the position within a group, the classroom, but also all social interactions, and the way in which they look at others and others look at them. So they are led by professional artists, and they are by no means simple leisure or relaxation activities, but strong levels of self-reconstruction. And these workshops, they are key moments. There is a before and after the workshop. I have no time to talk about social gathering, which is very important because we share a lot of our culture, we share our food, our music, our dance, our poetry. You will see a few pictures, no time to talk about it. Third point, the academic and professional integration. This is an aspect relatively rarely taken into account in French universities. The student comes essentially to acquire academic knowledge and is rarely individually accompanied throughout his or her studies. In other words, we had to build the DU passerelle in just the opposite direction, going against the flow of normal operation. Because at the DU, we come to learn French, but also to build our future project. The support of the individual project unfolds over time throughout the DU in the most open way possible by being responsive and by offering different tools and processes. It's provided by a professional who works in constant synergy with the teachers and with all the people involved in the world of training and employment. We have the workshops. We have the workshops in small groups at the beginning, reflection on my skills, my experience, qualities, writing my CV and so forth. And then we have individual interviews and progressive implementation of the project stages. Each student is offered tools to prepare a positive outcome of the DU, which implies checking the choice of the project, which is sometimes vague or erroneous, and ensuring its success. Because beyond the language problems, the academic courses in the country of origin are most of the time far from the French curriculum, both in terms of methodology and contents. So it's important not to shatter the student desire as much as it is important not to expose him or her to a bitter failure. So we have a certain number of means that allow this awareness without putting the students at a dead end. Internship in companies, one or several, to discover a profession or to confront the experience in the country of origin with the French job market. Refresher courses in math, physics, biology, economic, in order to effectively support the students. It's essential that both the students and the team have a fair assessment of his or her skill. And if these needs to be consolidated, courses in very small groups are offered. Other possibilities is the insertion into university courses. Students, parallel with the French course, they can follow the course of the diploma they wish to prepare for the following year as a free auditor. Some maintain their project, while others, realizing that it's too difficult, give it up and turn to another choice on their own. And of course, participation in open days, making contact with training center, etc. Our aim is that every student who leaves the day should have a concrete perspective for the future. A few words of the assessment. As is done for the objectives of the diploma, the assessment must take into consideration several aspects, some of which are difficult to measure. The students' level of French has improved significantly for everybody, and they have passed the certifications for which they have been prepared. However, mastering the French language takes many years. One cannot work as a journalist or lawyer after 2 years of French, or even be hired in a hairdresser salon or as a construction foreman. And with a B2 level, returning to university is a big challenge. The orientation and choice of course is winding and forked. If we look at the figures over the 4 years, we can see that 7 students have successfully completed a university degree out of 100 of students, 7. Around 30 have taken short courses to return to work in construction, hotel industry, etc. 5 have found employment in their field as doctor, pharmacist, dentist, but with a very precarious position. And 3 have started a business, and about 15 have unskilled temporary jobs. This may seem like a near failure in relation to one of the objectives of the program, which is access to university studies or the attainment of a level that could allow one to find qualified jobs in their original field of competence. But the paths are more complicated and cannot be assessed in terms of success and failure. I think I have very short time to give you an example. A student who is a young mother ended up disclosing during the theater workshop that she was a victim of serious domestic violence. Thanks to the workshop, she found help and managed to take action and improve the situation. So she still is in no position to undertake training, but she's doing better and she's rebuilding her life, and it will take years. 4 years ago, a Sudanese agricultural engineer who was a holder of 2 master's degrees and one was in English, followed the program for 1 year. But if I choose for 1 year to do a work-linked training course in agricultural machinery maintenance, very low level, and the year after, we supported him in the steps to go back to the Agronomy Institute. And he was aiming a registration in service, but he was finally accepted for a professional degree only. And he had to interrupt the training following the refusal of funding from Pôle emploi. So he finally signed a contract as a maintenance worker for the city of Dijon. And thanks to this job and the pay slips, after 1 year, obtained a visa for his wife and child to join him. And he recently called us back to resume his studies in agronomy next year. It's success or failure. What's certain is that following the degree creates an anchor, a foundation that our support goes far beyond the years spent on the benches of the French courses. All situations could give rise to such stories which show the complexity of an integration process. And offering such a program at university means adopting a holistic approach, constantly questioning our way of working, the contents proposed, knowing how to collaborate with other social actors, social workers, employment counselors, doctors, psychologists. It's a long-term job, and the follow-up can last more than 4 years. Our experience does not go beyond that just now. University is a space for freedom of thought, for reflection, interdisciplinarity, and the invention of new modes of training. And as the only place to associate teaching and research, it has really a challenge to take up in the face of this societal reality. Thank you. Thank you